Hello everybody, I hope you're good. Bitcoin seems to be in a very important zone in the chart, and it's this previous resistance that we were talking in yesterday's video. You can see that right now it's testing it. Let's see if we can test it at support, or if not, we want to look at the next zone. But first I want to go through yesterday's New York session, because we got a bit disappointed. It was quite boring. First we saw at the end of the session a drop. We saw London holding, everything good, and then we were expecting New York to start recovering this large red candle, but New York was pretty boring and decided to range in this area. The S&P pumped slightly, I think it was like a 0 to 70%. Bitcoin didn't follow, which is very strange. And then at this point we were thinking, okay, not much is happening here. Let's forget about this pattern because it only has 1 hour left. It's not going to happen anymore. So I got off the charts and I was waiting to see what Asia was going to do last night and start trading today. So what am I looking at today? Well, the first thing is that New York didn't pump, so Bitcoin went to the next zone, which was the 28,600 area. Okay, that was the previous resistance for 3 weeks that we had during March. You can see it here. And now what we could expect is we have two scenarios again. We could test this on a support successfully and we could potentially see a bounce, or Bitcoin could go to the next zone. And what's the next zone? Well, if you notice here, we have a range for a couple of weeks. I think there was 10 days. Yeah, for 10 days. That's quite a long time for Bitcoin. We were in this area quite a long time, okay? With this, I mean that if Bitcoin breaks below this area and fails to test this zone as support, we would expect Bitcoin to do something like this, okay? And test this, well, the bottom of the range. At the moment, I'm not in any position. That's the first thing I want you to know. But this is not financial advice, so do whatever you want. But what I'm looking at now is a break below this zone, then a bit of sideways, and then when it breaks, that's when I'll be opening a short position targeting the bottom of the range. You can see right now, if you go to the 1 hour time frame, that in this zone I'm not seeing anything interesting that is telling me to open a position. Okay, you can see some wicks here to the downside, which are quite interesting, but Bitcoin is still looking pretty heavy. So if we start seeing more of this type of wicks, okay, in this zone, wicks, then yes, we will expect a bounce, maybe to 29,400, which is this previous zone, okay? But for now, it's still looking pretty heavy, so I'm not interested at the moment. Let's go back to the 4 hour time frame, okay? So basically, if it breaks below this zone, a bit of sideways, then fall to the bottom of the range, and then I will open in a position, a short position in this zone. This would be my first target, but I will have a second target, and it's this week over here. You can see this candlestick has a massive wick that was never retraced. So we would expect Bitcoin to target the 27,485 zone. Okay, that would be our setup. Now let's go to high block capital. Let's go to the liquidations charts and see what they are telling us. If we go through the liquidation charts, we can see that they're getting a bit messy because there has been a lot of moves and the charts are getting quite a lot messy, so there is liquidity pretty much everywhere. In the 7 days time frame, we can see quite a lot of liquidity at the 31,400 zone. That's exactly above the previous high, because there is always liquidity above previous highs and below previous lows. And then we have some liquidity at 27,400. It matches with the wick, doesn't it? So that's why it's quite an interesting zone for me. That adds confluence. If we go to the 1 month time frame, we can see it's getting really heavy here, quite messy. We can see liquidity everywhere pretty much. But again, things that I've noticed is quite low liquidity at 31,300, as the 7 days time frame says. At 27,400, that's around the 50% of the week. And below, the next zone is at the 25,500, 700, 600. And if you watch yesterday's video, that was our high time frame potential support. Okay, so if Bitcoin starts to lose the 27,400, then it'll go to the next zone around 25,500. In higher time frame, it gets even more messy, you can see, but it's showing a lot of liquidations at 22,600. Let's see if they update, because in theory these positions are longs that were open, for example, say in this zone, and they didn't take profit. So I would like to see if it gets updated and they're starting to close positions as we go down, or if they are holding them, and see, for example, say if we are at the 27,400, how this area is starting to look. It might change. Okay, we're back to the charts. I'm here with my friend, the dollar index chart, and you can see how this W pattern might be in play, because it swept the lows and now it's bouncing. Remember that Bitcoin trades against the dollar, so as long as the dollar goes up, Bitcoin can't go up. Bitcoin will eventually go down. So these are the two zones that we have in our chart. Remember, I think that was Monday's video. Okay, we were explaining this potential move for the dollar index, and we could expect the dollar to reach these zones, maybe a rejection here, or the next zone, another little retrace. Okay, if during these retraces we could see Bitcoin bouncing, but as long as the dollar continues going up and marching on, Bitcoin will continue going down. So keep an eye in the dollar index. Let's have a quick look at the S&P chart we saw this week over here. So we were anticipating S&P to retrace and fill this week. That's what happened, and now I think it's kind of like in a sideways move. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. Okay, right now it's a 4,125. I think it's very likely that it comes down all the way to 4,100, which is around this zone. Why? Because if you go to the daily time frame, we're gonna see a liquidity pool over here. Let me mark it for you. This one. Okay, so I think it's heading towards this zone, but I want you to pay attention to this zone, because if it comes to this zone, I don't think it'll be looking bearish. Let me show you why. We come from a quite bullish move to the upside, and if it comes all the way here, then I think this will just be some sideways. Look at this. Okay, it's sideways from a bullish move. That's all it'll be. But if it breaks below this zone, then it'll be a different story, because it will probably go all the way, but it'll do a bit of sideways probably in this zone, and then it'll go all the way to the 4,000 zone. That it's a very psychological zone, because it's a round number. I think that if the S&P goes all the way to the 4,000, then Bitcoin will probably go to 25,500, which is a high time frame previous resistance that might get tested as support. Okay, but there is quite a long journey for the S&P to go there, because first it has to come to the 4,100, and let's see what it does there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll see you soon.